Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user Shucking It. Significant other and mother pushing me into joint bank account against my wishes. As the title says, I'm worried I'm being pushed into a joint bank account against my judgment. Sorry if I appear to go off on a tangent at first, but it's relevant to my concerns. So, over a year ago, I was pregnant with my daughter, who will be 1 in a week's time. For 2 years prior to living in our place, my significant other and I were living at his mom's. Then we found the perfect place, the perfect area. We also checked if it would be covered by the local housing allowance before we inquired about it, just to be safe, even though we both worked at the time and could cover rent. We were about to settle with the landlord when we got a call saying he was rejecting us as my partner had a county court judgment on his account. Significant other was shocked about this, so we dug a little deeper to discover that his mother, due to bad credit, had used his details in order to set up an account with an online catalog and not paid for the account. So the county court judgment was for £450. We confronted her. Her reply was that she bought things for my significant other from there, which is why it was in his name. But her bank details, email address and everything else. We explained this situation to the landlord of our prospective property and he agreed that if we could evidence that the county court judgment being paid off, we could still have the place. My significant other's mother didn't have the money to pay it off, although later I found out she could, as she bought my significant other's Xbox Series X, also £450. So, feeling like it was the only option, I told her I could use my personal savings to pay it, but as it wasn't something my significant other did knowingly, and with a baby close to being born, that I needed the money back. She never thanked me, just ignored me and walked off whenever it was mentioned. When we move in, we end up in immediate financial difficulties. Due to COVID, I was made redundant and my partner was furloughed. I mentioned that we should talk to his mom about paying something of my savings back, as even a bit would help us. But he told me he believed she was never going to pay it back, so I should just leave it. Fast forward to this week, and me and my significant other have been having arguments about money and finances, as his hours have been cut to 10 a week. And due to a health emergency I had after the birth of my daughter, I was in the hospital for an extended amount of time, I've been cautious about applying for work as health-wise I'm vulnerable to COVID now and had to shield when I got home from the hospital. The last year I've had universal credit as my income and have used this to get all the groceries, my share of bills, and currently doing all the rent, never really having a penny to spare on myself. And my partner, often once he has paid his bills, has spent money on whatever he likes, which admittedly is sometimes things for me, but not the stuff I'd choose, and I'd honestly prefer if he helped with the groceries or bought things for our daughter. He's bought her one small toy and a little jacket over this time, so I can be a little selfish and buy something I would like occasionally. A few weeks ago I said I was going into town as we needed groceries, and he said that's good, I can join him at the bank as he's opening a joint bank account. This felt pressured as I didn't feel on this occasion that I was given a chance for discussion or to think, nor did I feel that there was any suggestion, it was a choice. Thankfully, my previous debit card had broken, and my bank had added details of my new card to my online account so I could use Google Pay. So I was able to use the lack of a card at the moment as an excuse to put him off. I asked on the way back what he would have done if I hadn't have been going into town as well, and he told me he would have gone and seen if the bank would have set up a joint account without me. I told him I was really angry he would set up an account behind my back, and he said he wouldn't have done it, but no other reason to ask if they would. Yesterday, we had a horrific argument and he asked his mom around to mediate. I also felt pressured by her to open a joint account. I suggested I was maybe open to one where we both transfer set amounts each month to cover household expenses, but was told, no, everything goes into this account. My significant other and she seemed really determined on this, so I agreed for the sake of peace. I'd said originally that I would go for this once the money for the CCJ was paid back, so I could have a little emergency expense for me and the baby in my account for worse of months. But it was suggested, if we're drawing a line in the sand from yesterday, that the money for the CCJ should be forgotten too, which I wouldn't agree to. To clarify a few things, the reasons I don't want a joint account are 1. My partner got a credit card a while back for emergencies. Needless to say, it didn't go on emergencies and he bought himself new games, etc. But a couple of loads of groceries too. He's never shown me a statement for how he maxed it, but I kept a mental note of what I knew he spent on it and it doesn't add up at all. 2. They say it means we can both have eyes open, as it were, into each other's expenses. But as said credit card would be paid from this account, my significant other would have this to use without my eyes seeing, and I think that's unfair and suspicious. 3. His mother suggested we only get £20 ourselves a month each, which is actually fine, but as I said above, my partner still has more than he can hide from me. After a year of not being able to spend on me while he did, £20 feels like a fob off without the $450 quit back. But I'm probably being an a-hole with that one, to be fair. 4. As my partner wages are low, he's not paying anything into the household after his bills at the moment. Although I asked him to start chipping in with groceries and bits and pieces. He's been telling me what he's getting every month, mainly so he doesn't pay into the house. But it helps me budget ahead as I can use his wages to estimate what universal credit we will get. Last month he lied by £100. He said it was due to my birthday and I told him that I would have understood that. It was the lying I was objecting to. He accused me of accessing his bank account to check up on him until I showed him I could see it on our statement, and he asked me why I was even looking at the universal credit statement anyway. 5. I feel I'm not being given a choice, which makes me not want it more. I want to genuinely consider it over a few weeks without being pestered, as I want to consider not just the short-term, but the long-term impact on both our financials due to credit histories getting influenced by each other. And I haven't told them this, but my credit score is actually okay these days and I want to keep it that way in case of emergencies. I have got some time, for now. Luckily they agreed we would wait till my new bank card arrives to set up the account, so I can put it off. Luckily my bank card arrived a week or so ago. Fortunately I caught it first as I was going to the shop, so I pocketed it and gave it to a friend who's familiar with the situation whom I trust. And he's put it away hidden out the house. It's not activated yet and I know he wouldn't try anyway. Am I right to be concerned that an account I didn't agree to will be created behind my back? I'm concerned if my partner had got hold of my bank card and giving it to his mom. He could have gone down there and made one. Is there any way in which I can protect my accounts? I know the universal credit is his money too, so a joint account would be fair, but I'm severely uncomfortable with all of it getting paid directly in there. Can anyone please advise what steps I could take legally to protect myself until I've made my own decision? Wow, OP, it sounds to me like you're being set up to be some sort of cash bag and unwillingly being taken advantage of. I have no idea how you can legally protect yourself from where you live, or the thing about the universal credit thing, because I don't know how that works. However, I would say that the worst thing that you could do is actually open a joint bank account with your significant other that I'd think you shouldn't be able to trust. It honestly sounds to me like him and his mom want to get money from you or want to use you to get money to use for themselves, which is ridiculous. I mean, what's up with your significant other not providing for his baby, not getting proper groceries or clothing or, that stuff? That should be his focus. OP, my advice is protect everything you can. Your accounts, your passwords, your documents, everything. All of it. And I honestly would rethink being in a relationship with this man. It's sometimes better to be without this type of crappy people than to have them in your life just for the sake of your kid. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? Or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. So Suit7878 says, "Why are you continuing with this man and his mother? You have resorted to hiding your bank card to avoid being bullied into a shared account by this irresponsible turd and his irresponsible mother who almost kept you from housing and owes you money. Do not listen to either of them about money. They know nothing about it. You can't even trust your partner with your bank card around. This is a bad match. This is a bad partner. Say no and figure out how to get out of this." Petite Pede 21 says, "Joint account are always a bad idea in my opinion. It's cool for paying bills, rent, and that's it. Keep your money to yourself. He's trying to use your money in my humble opinion, because money in a joint account is everyone's money. If you buys break, that's his money too. Don't do it." And Dopey responds, "This is my worry. When I was getting as little as he is now, I still paid my share of rent and there were no suggestions of getting any money from him to help out. Now it's the other way around. I'm hearing from him and his mom about, it all goes in one account. One friend said it may be an idea to get the account so I could see what he spends, until I pointed out we'd be paying off his credit card, which means he still has every chance of concealing that from me. Then our friend backed down and also said that yeah, I am also entitled to ask for the CCJ money back first. Savage Comic says, just don't. Your partner's mom can't be mediator on an issue where she's directly involved. No easy way to say this, but I simply cannot put the money that is for our daughter as less of a priority than video games or catalog debts. Sounds like his mom needs to grow the F up. And Opie responds, I was thinking she shouldn't mediate at all, to be honest, but my partner called her off the bat yesterday. But it really did feel like she came and decided to push an agenda, the joint account with all our money in it. I agree that she needs to grow up, but I really do think this is her agenda and not my significant other's. The day we walked into town was after he'd spent the day with her the day before. Additional information from Opie's comments. Our relationship isn't that great at the moment. He's taken my daughter directly out of my arms with me saying no twice now, to run off with her to his mom's with no word of where he's going, what he was doing, or when he'd be back. That's what incited the argument yesterday at first, to be honest. I cannot trust him not to do the same thing with the money when he's in a mood, when he can do that with a baby. So I've started siphoning off a little bit here and there, hoping to build up enough in savings to keep me and the baby okay for a while if things go south. Or alternatively, pay the fee to have his name removed from the tenancy. In our tenancy agreement, it states this would be £50, and I've already saved that. Also, I'll move the little lady's birth certificate to my friend's place when my significant other is at work. I know I can trust this friend. I met her in college and my significant other had never even met her and doesn't know where she lives, thankfully. She and her husband are both great to talk to, and her husband is the one that first offered to hide my bank card if it would make life easier for a bit and buy me time to think about all this. At the moment, I'm thinking that as soon as my significant other is at work, I'm popping down to the bank to tell them I'm being coerced into a joint bank account that I'm not comfortable with at this point in time. Then, next time my mother-in-law calls, I'm telling her in no uncertain terms that she stays out of our finances, given that she committed fraud on her son's account. I will offer her an opportunity to give her opinion on our finances once a payment agreement is made on the fraud she committed. And by the way, I have no expectation that she'll pay even a penny if I'm honest, sticking with it on principle, but also because of the damn cheek that she thinks she is in any position to demand what I do with my finances. Anyway, then I'll tell my significant other and his mom that once that payment agreement is sorted, I will discuss, but only discuss, the possibility of a joint account we both put money into from our separate accounts. But that's it. And if they both don't like it, my significant other can go live with my mother-in-law. Alright, well, the community's showing OP all the red flags, and apparently OP is ready to do something about this whole thing. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. So, I posted a while ago about my significant other and his mother's attempt to push me into a joint bank account. I'm afraid the update isn't the happiest. After the post, I did go protect my bank account, secured mine and my little one's credit files, and have been planning to leave or get my significant other out. In the meantime, arguments have continued on and on. I secured a job in order to help finances, also help me get enough in terms of finances to leave or to help when leaving to change circumstances on the universal credit. I have been pushed, but not agreed to, give over half of the universal credit when my wages start appearing, which isn't going to happen. I had to go down to my new job for an hour or so today, and on return went to pick up the baby and help her tidy up a few things. By mistake, I picked up my significant other's phone. We have the same phone and Case thought it was mine. And I confess, when I noticed it was his, I did unlock it. I know this is wrong. He has a secret chat on WhatsApp with his mother. Shocker! And it's only about one topic. Me. It is the most disgusting, hateful thing I have witnessed. So in this chat, there is talk between them every time I leave the house, in which I spot that my significant other has called Universal Credit in order to split the payments behind my back. I don't think he was able to do though, probably he is currently receiving a wage. However, this is not the point. He continues to lie about finances, having bought games and told me his mom bought them for him. And in this chat, they talk about the fact that this is a lie and the money came from our household budget again. He went to the pub on Friday with family. He tried to ask me to come as well when I had our 1-year-old child with us. I said no. There'd been a match in town that day and we wouldn't be there until past 8. Not appropriate for the baby. Although I reasonably asked if they wanted to see little one, could they please think of an alternate plan? Mother-in-law lives very close to that pub. No, there was an adamant refusal. We will be in the pub if we want to. The only reason it seems they wanted me there was as a public lynching. Otherwise, it was just saying how awful I am that I was unresponsive and such the other day. I'd been up with the baby all night. It was late and I was knackered. That there's no reason I should get the nice things I want. Everything I want together is cheaper than any one of his consoles we are paying off from our household budget. And also making comments of, she's putting her foot down regaining control, purely as a negative thing and it needs to be nipped in the bud. He's making accusations now against me for economic abuse, based on me apparently having all the money. I don't. He has his wages, a minimum of $400 a month. $200 a month is now going on his credit card and $100 on his consoles. He's still spending on things for himself, and he and his mother in this talk do not seem to think I have any need of luxuries and want him to have money, as the groceries I buy are apparently not good enough. His mother has encouraged him to hide documents from me that they found in my emergency bag. She's making him make a log of all my behavior, and generally the talk is vile. They want to move me out of town, which is shocking, and I don't understand why, as they seem to hate me so much. So I have spoken to a refuge and they've referred me to surviving economic abuse. I'm talking to Universal Credit when I can during the week and hopefully get his name taken off the Universal Credit. OP's edit. We won't get anywhere with the joint bank account. Even though I did technically agree to this at one point, this was due to us having an argument and he called his mom around urgently to mediate, and she told me that all my money should go into the joint bank account. This wasn't mediation, it was bullying. So I've told him that no joint account is happening. And if I discover any financial products have been opened in my name, I will call the police. I'm hoping I can get hold of his phone again and get copies of those messages. If not, then I don't know what I'll do, but I'll try. In any case, I'm not paying for anything for him anymore. I'm sick of paying for everything because I have no money. He does have money, but it's wrapped up in consoles and credit cards. But in all honesty, I'm so scared by what I read in those messages. It wasn't ignorance of how they were treating me. It was nasty, intentional, and horrible. I don't plan to be here long enough to ever have to pay a penny to anything for him again. OP's final update. I am completely decided on exiting this situation. This is not healthy. Things are not good. I found out his family has been giving him cash, which he has been hiding and not using to help the household. Especially considering things have been tight this month with the baby's birthday and I don't get paid for a few days. And the addition of significant other's mother into the situation makes it especially toxic. Especially as he goes to talk to her and she gives advice about how to control the situation. I have to stick my foot down to protect our financials or to stop my daughter from being taken to a pub in the evening on a football match day. It goes like this. Significant other feels things are not going his way and he leans on his mother. It's a repeating and escalating cycle that I fear where it will end up, and I need out of this before it escalates any further than it has. There are a lot of red flags, some like lying about the games, which may seem minor, but in the context of agreements we had made and the involvement of his mother in both hiding the truth from me for their own ends, I consider these part of a bigger picture, hence why I want to get out. There were some minor red flags when we first moved into our independent place. I did glaze over these too easily in hindsight, as my friends and I considered that he had never lived independently of his mother before and he needs to find his feet. Then the baby came and I was ill. So many red flags slipped past me whilst I was not feeling myself, admittedly. I am currently making digital copies of every document that pertains to me or my daughter. Some of them may not be needed, but I will get them all. I am repacking my get out bag. Within the chat I found, I saw pictures that they had found it and destroyed it. Thankfully, they didn't at all seem to think this was part of a plan to leave. And as they found my documents previously packaged in my go bag, I had to find them. but I now know where they are and I'm keeping an eye on them. So when I can plan to get out, I can grab them all. But with copies now, I'm thankfully covered. Alright, well I'm gonna call this one a possibly positive update in the making. That is, if OP can get out of that relationship and out of that abuse. Unfortunately, OP didn't make any more posts or share any more information, so here's hoping, OP, that you're okay and out of all of that. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. Now let's finish this video with a really quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user ID Forgotten, getting kinky with my frigid roommate. I used to rent a room in an old roommate's condo. We generally got along, but he was a bit stingy and would get really anal about certain things that affected me unfairly as a paying roommate. The biggest point of contention was the thermostat. I like to be comfortable and would keep it at 70. He preferred 65 to save money even though he was well off. I tried to compromise, but it descended into us each moving the thermostat when the other left. Finally, he put his foot down and said it has to stay at 65. Unfortunately for my roommate, I had learned about bimetallic strips that old thermostats used to gauge temperature. Two different metals are back to back in a coil. As one expands more than the other, the coil unwinds and turns the furnace on or off. Knowing this, I agreed to keep it at 65, but I didn't not agree to put a teensy tiny kink in the strip behind the dial to change what 65 meant to the furnace. Several times he thought it was not stupidly cold in here and started obsessively checking the dial to catch me red-handed. He was so confused when it was exactly at 65 every time. Eventually, he started setting it even cooler to compensate, but with a subtle kink here or there, I managed to stay comfortable while keeping the peace. Well, OP, you're absolutely right. You kept it at 65, you just made it relative. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.